Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Vasudev Vasutam Devam Kamsachanunamardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We are seeing chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. We were discussing shlokas 38, 39, 40 last time when we were here. And over here, Arjuna is giving reasons as to why he should not engage in war, and what are the calamities of war and what can war do. So it's as though Bhagavan Krishna does not know. Of course, Bhagavan Krishna knows, but over here, out of this great despondency of mind, Arjuna, who is so disturbed by the turn of events in his life, he is presenting these thoughts in front of Bhagavan Krishna. Yadyapetena pashyanti lobopahata chetasaha kulakshaya krutam dosham mitra drohe cha patakam. Shloka number 38 we saw. And then katham nagneyam asmabihi papa dasman nivartitum kulakshaya krutam dosham prapashyad birjanardana. Bhagavan, even though, hey Janardana, all of these asmabihi kulakshaya krutam dosham praprashyad bihi, having seen the calamities that are born out of a disappearance of kula, the lineage, and the dharmas born out of that, all of that, Bhagavan, seeing this clearly, Bhagavan, we should turn away from this papa dasman nivartitum. We should turn away from this papachara karma of this war. Oh Lord, we should turn away. Then kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krutsnam adharmo bher bhavatyuta. So now this kula dharma and the lineage and the dharmas of the lineage, Bhagavan, if it disappears, then how will proper culture be maintained? See, this is a very deep, deep thought. Even last week, I had talked about this Kula Dharma. See, when we have a nation of India, we have, people from different states, more than 22 states, more than 22 languages, more than, so many different cultures within the same country. And yet we are all united by spirituality. If a just a North Indian Punjabi gets married to another North Indian Punjabi, a boy and girl, even to make the marriage work from people with similar background, it is difficult. Then imagine a North Indian marrying somebody from South India, Tamil Nadu, or Kerala. The food is different, language is different, the ways of living, traditions are different. Now, imagine two people raised in two different backgrounds. When they come together, what will they impart to the children? And now today, when we find ourselves in United States, in this melting pot society, what to talk about it? A mom is from Andhra, dad is from Gujarat. Then children are born, and then that child ends up getting married to an American, an Asian, an African, whoever. Now imagine we are coming from different cultures, different religion, different eating habits. Are just the eating habits so different? So he has raised over here, Arjuna has raised a point which is very important. He's saying Kulakshaye, when this lineage disappears, oh Lord, he's saying Sanatanaha Kuladharmaha Pranashyanti. They will go away, oh Lord. And Bhagavan addresses this in the 4th chapter. He will come and address that the decadence of culture is there because we fail to educate the next generation about what are proper ways of living. The first guru is mother, Matru Devo Bhava. Then the second guru is Pitru Devo Bhava. So mother imparts to the child as the first guru the basics of life. The second guru, Pitru Devo Bhava, is the one who instructs to the child what is the Kula Dharma. The child will be taking the lineage of the father. So the Kula Dharma, boy or girl, Pitru Devo Bhava, it is a father who imparts culture to the child. And then the third, Guru Devo Bhava, Matur Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. And Acharya introduces to the child the dharma of the equipment. Mother introduces just the simple bodily functions with great love. Oh, otherwise, who will change our diapers? Imagine. Even the female species, when they give birth, they literally keep on, if it's a cat or a dog, they will keep on licking the belly of the little pup which has arrived, a puppy or a kitten. The mother instinctively knows she needs to get the digestive system going. She will keep on licking. And the first time the little kitten or the puppy, it will poop, and it will completely start the digestive cycle, and the mother will even eat that up in these species. A female elephant, imagine this baby, such a huge 200-kilo baby is born, and the mother elephant kicks it so hard, holds the trunk, twists the trunk of the little baby and smash it. And we may think, oh my God, she's going to kill. But she has to remove the fluid from the nose so the baby can start breathing. So the first guru is the Prakriti herself, mother, because the form has arrived. So Matrudevo Bhava, first dharma. Then Pitrudevo Bhava, the father over there. In human beings, it is the father who should instruct the child as to what are the proper ways of living in the society, and what our lineage is, and how does our kula fit into the society. And then the guru comes, Acharya Devo Bhava, at the age of 10, 11, 12, when the child goes to Gurukulam. What is the dharma of the Sukshma Sharir? So imagine, it takes a village to raise a child. It is so true. Just two people cannot do it. If we want a culturally, a morally, and ethically sound citizen of tomorrow to take over this world, it is not easy. Producing a child takes no effort, but to raise for 18 years, oh my God. So Arjuna says, oh Lord, in this war, if these men are destroyed, women are left, we are going to destroy Sanatanaha Kuladharmaha. We are the roof and crown of creation, the human species. And this roof and crown of creation, the human species, it relies on heavy influence of adults to make sure that the next generation is well off. Just somebody who is very spiritually inclined and completely turned away from the worldly life, just came and spent some time with me yesterday. I was trying to help this person, and I said, may I have your date of birth, time of birth, place of birth? Just take a simple looking at the birth chart to understand what are what is this person dealing with. And immediately I looked at it, I said, oh my God, your mom went through some terrible times during your pregnancy. He said, yeah, Swamiji, when my mom was pregnant with me, my dad went to jail 3 times. Imagine what that poor woman must have gone through. Her husband is in jail. Here is she's pregnant. She's worried whether he will even be in the hospital when he's born. What all things people go through. It is very, very important. In our culture, the minute the girl becomes pregnant, in the first trimester itself, she will go to her own home. She will be taken care of her own mother. At least there is some mental peace in her life. So that the duration of pregnancy, the child will be exposed to proper mental peace of the mother who is pregnant with the baby. But if the child itself has a rocky start, mother is worried, sick during pregnancy, proper food is not there, nutrients are not there. On top of it, she is dealing with all sorts of problems of husband and in-laws, and all sorts of things going on. It has some severe repercussion on the unborn child. This is how we find a culture which disintegrates. And these are the ideas presented by Arjuna. He's thinking, Arjunji is thinking. Now, Bhagavan is silently listening to all these things. It's not he's entirely wrong. The standpoint from which Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna, and the standpoint from which Arjuna is talking to Bhagavan are two different standpoints. That's why we have this Bhagavad Gita. So, out of despondency of mind, Arjuna is speaking about the state of affairs of a culture. He's right, but the time that he has chosen to speak about this is not appropriate. That's the problem. This is where he finds his problem. So, dharme nashte kulam krutsnam adharmo abhibhavatyutaha. Bhagavan, adharma alone will prevail. Adharma abhibhavatyuta. It will prevail, oh Bhagavan. Only adharma will reign if this doesn't happen. So, this is what Arjuna is talking about. This topic of dharma, this topic of tradition, values, culture is quite important. And if it is not exemplified in home, all of a sudden in teenage years, it is difficult to inculcate. We have to be champions and stalwarts of culture and righteousness from the day we even think about becoming parents. A lot is at stake. Just the way in which the husband talks to the wife, or the way wife talks to the husband in front of the child, in front of elders, in front of others in the society. It sends very subtle messages to the children. How do we deal with each other in stress? We break down, we use colorful language, we throw things. So many things are there, And imagine the child is picking up on everything. And then, if right things are not seen, the very young, impressionable mind and intellect, it creates its own as though dharma. It creates its own ways of thinking and living if it is not shown. And thus, what is presented over here is very powerful by Arjunji. What is presented is very important. Continuing, Shloka number 41, chapter 1. Adharmadibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushta suvashneya jayate varna sankarah. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradushanti kulastriyaha Strishu dushta suvarshneya jayate varna sankaraha. This will not go well with a modern liberal in this country. Because, see, the ideas presented over here is the Vedic tradition in which the tradition was laid out for the self-evolution. So we have to understand why Vedic tradition prevailed. And why does the Vedic tradition speak of the tradition in such an important manner? And why does this Vedic tradition create the distinction between a man and a woman? All this has to be it has to be understood quite properly. And if we don't understand this, then we will have issues with Bhagavad Gita. Forget about Bhagavad Gita, we will have issues with all scriptures of all religions. This particular shloka over here, Bhagavan Arjunji is saying that, hey Krishna, adharma bhi bhavat kulastriya pradushyanti. Bhagavan, when there is a prevalence of adharma abhibhavat, because of the preponderance of this, over here Gurudev says impiety of adharma, what happens? Hey Krishna, pradushyanti kulastriyaha. Kulastriyaha, the women in that lineage, they will become corrupted. Then he says, Strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. And when women are not taken care of properly, then what happens is Strishu dushtashu he varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. The varna shankara praja, the admixture of castes, will become prevalent. So now I have to systematically put the thought of the Vedic tradition. Number one, the Vedic tradition evolved so that both men and women were given fair chance to evolve spiritually. That was the primary purpose of human birth. Each one of us have taken birth only to spiritually evolve. That's all. Doesn't matter what part of the world we are in, what our socioeconomic background is, our caste is, our religion is. We have come over here only to become better. That is the only reason. So first and foremost, so now if we have arrived over here to spiritually evolve, then the system has to be created for us to evolve. Because if the system is not there, even if the desire is there in a person to evolve, but if the infrastructure of the society is not there, if the infrastructure of the family is not there, if the infrastructure of the subtle world is not presented and preserved, how will this person evolve? So then came the Kula, the lineage. And the lineage were divided in the Vedic tradition by a the society which cohesively worked together to make sure that every single part of the society was moving without any friction. All bearings were greased properly so that the engine, the economic engine, the spiritual engine, uh, the infrastructure engine of the whole society function. So they saw that number one, education has to be there. Without education, no society can evolve. So for preservation of education, a whole set of people were developed, were trained so that they will rise in education themselves and lead others to proper education. So, quote unquote, the whole Brahmin caste came so that the society as a whole remained educated. That was the first arrival of a materially and a spiritually educated person. The next one is, if the society is not protected, what can education do? So the protection was rendered by a fit and sound caste, quote unquote, of Kshatriyas. And they had a lineage. Then the education of the society, the preservation of the society, and the economic model of the society so that everybody is well taken care of, known as roti, kapda, or makan, food, clothing, and shelter. And this was given to the Vaishya caste as per the tradition. Someone will maintain the food aspect, aspect of it as roti. Some who would cultivate and create the clothing and all those things, the essential needs for a person to survive. And then building the physical infrastructure, there has to be the know-hows of it. And that was given to this one caste from where various lineages came out to preserve and make sure that the society is not just preserved, but the society is well taken care of so that everybody can grow properly. And then the last one was, the society had to be kept healthy and disease free. And thus, a whole different set of people were anointed to make sure that cleanliness prevailed. And thus, we have these four castes which evolved from the Vedic tradition. It was not to discriminate. Nobody felt they were discriminated. It was a Brahmin's job to educate all castes of the society. And I have myself seen this in little villages. If you go in Himalayas, this is still very prevalent. All children will study together. It's not that somebody is from the lowest caste and they are deprived of education. Absolutely not. And if somebody's home is falling apart, those who have the skill of maintaining homes in the cold terrain of the Himalayas, they will go and help out even the the lowest person in the society. The fourth caste, the Turiya caste, who, whatever names we want to call them, schedule class, and then uh, Shudras and all those things, they never felt that they were discriminated. I lived in such villages for weeks at a time, and everybody used to come and talk to me. uh, I lived in a different side of the society, but that didn't mean that they could not come. It was a small village of 50, 60 homes, and these traditions are still maintained. So we have to understand that Arjuna is speaking from the standpoint of that when that whole family which is taking care of one aspect of the society, if it is wiped out, or the men in there are wiped out, the women are incapable of keeping that tradition. So naturally what will happen, they will have to go outside their caste and marry somebody else. And Bhagavan is saying, not Bhagavan, Arjuna is saying that Bhagavan, in the preservation of Kula Dharma, when Nari, which is supposed to preserve her Kula Dharma, when she transgresses and goes into someone else's Dharma, then, oh Lord, the society will break down. Because whose dharma is being preserved by whom then? So we clearly see when the population boom is there in countries like India and China. And in the 1990s, when this computer field came about, when everybody wants to become only a computer engineer, even if they don't have aptitude, but the parents are saying, if you want to survive, you have to become a computer engineer. Oh, you have to become a computer. Imagine if we have a nation full of computer scientists. What will happen then? A nation full of just doctors, engineers, and lawyers, because in Indian home only three are allowed. Bus. This is ridiculous then. The society cannot survive like that. This is what is being presented as a very rich thought. In those days, the traditions were just four. That's it. Education, protection, economics, and then keeping the society clean. That was it. In the advent of the industrialization of the 19th century and advances in science and technology, which helped us in eradicating diseases and all those things, when our population has increased, uh, the traditions of the four varnashrama and the kula dharma of that has just melted away and diffused into one another. Even as a Swamiji, when I see I'll give you a very good example, just simple thing about fundraising. Majority of the money in fundraising will come from the Vaishya community. Brahmins, very few will give. They have knowledge, they have renounced their Vedic tradition of Brahmanatva and entered the Vaishya dharma of accumulating wealth. But the very subtle tendencies of what makes a Brahmin is to live at arms and to live at what people give and not to give back, and only giving back knowledge is there. You ask majority of the Balvihar teachers will be Brahmin caste. It's a very subtle thing. I try not to bring this out in my pravachan, but I've observed over 20-25 years in all centers across the United States. The minute they introduce themselves, immediately can figure out who is who. I don't even have to look at the treasurer's quick books as to where money comes from. These are Kula Dharmas. In a Vaishya family, it's a tradition. They will give money. In a Brahmin household, there is a tradition. They will volunteer and give education. In a Kshatriya family, you see, they will go out and Boy Scouts and all those things. You will see majority of the kids who finish the Eagle Scouts project come from a robust Kshatriya family. These are the telltale signs that what has been talked about, it is still very prevalent. We may not like to hear it, but the very blood which flows in our veins has a lot of stories to tell. It is a product of a kula. It is not just some ATGC base pairs which have created the functioning of DNA. How that DNA is exposed, in which home, what are the traditions? Science may classify the blood groups of A, B, universal acceptor, universal donor, this, that. Yes, these basic proteins are there which identify the blood in a blood bank. But each blood has a story to tell. It may be life-saving for a person who is on the deathbed, that blood, but that blood is smitten with Kula Dharma. And women are the carriers of Kula Dharma. The very fact in all Indian traditions, in the wedding, the most important wedding part of the wedding ceremony is when sindoor is put in her forehead, that she becomes the blood carrier of that new family now. That is why her forehead is anointed with kumkum. She's born in a different bloodline, but somehow our rishis knew that on her, she may be having two X chromosomes, but she is the carrier of the Y chromosome of the husband on her forehead. On her forehead rests the kula of the next family. And based upon that, Arjuna is saying that, oh Bhagavan, Strishu Dushta Shuvarshneya Jayate Varna Shankara. whose bloodline will she carry on her forehead? It's a privilege for a woman to carry the lineage of the same kula she comes from. A different family, but the kula is same. This is how a marriage works. Traditions work. If a lady is raised in a Kshatriya family and knows what they are, and she marries into another Kshatriya family, she can adapt to it very well and be the carrier of that bloodline. Now, if somebody is exposed to so many different uh, ways of up, upbringing, entering a home completely different, yeah, she will. Biology dictates that she is going to carry the bloodline of the man that she has chosen to marry, but there will be decadence of culture and values and so on and so forth. It will be there. Confused praja. So that's why, some of these thoughts which are presented are worthy of knowing. It's quite important. Bhagavan has discarded all of them from a very different standpoint. So we have to understand Arjuna's standpoint and we have to understand Bhagavan's standpoint. Both are important. Because if we understand Arjunji's standpoint, uh, we can make sure that at least the family traditions that we are in, we do our best to preserve them. And if I don't know what my traditions are, maybe I ought to pick it up for the sake of the next generation. That's all. Because education is important. In spirituality, we have to find our spiritual identity. The very next chapter will start with that. Arjuna is talking about physical identity over here, and Bhagavan will talk about spiritual identity. But if we are physically lost, how can we find spiritual identity? So that's why that is very important. Continuing, Sankaro narakayeva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. So kulasya sankaraha kulagnanam narakayeva patanti pitaro hyesham. So what happens is, see, even when I used to teach at UT Austin, mostly for my chick class, it was mostly our kids who have gone through Bal Vihar in Chinmay Mission, Dallas, Houston, Austin, Beaumont, wherever Chinmay Mission centers are. They would come and they've been exposed to Bal Vihar. So because of that, they decided, at least in Bal Vihar, parents pushed them towards Bal Vihar. But on college, nobody was telling them, go to Swamiji's satsang. They decided to come because they really wanted to learn. They wanted to know. And, I had some uh, Asians who would join, some Americans who would join. And the most who came to my classes, they were admixture of two cultures, a Chinese and an American, an African American and an Asian. So what happens is they're living in this edge between two cultures and they want to know who they are. It's natural for us to know who we are. And they will go in all different places to find themselves. They've tried so many different religions. I need some answers. Who am I? I remember this one boy, half Chinese and half American, and he was in tears. He said, I have the eyes and the slight features of what they quote unquote call Oriental. So the minute they look at me, they said, he's an Asian. But then my mouth opens and I speak perfect English and things like that. And they're like, you are a first generation Chinese. And I know my mom is Asian, but my dad is American. And when I go for Thanksgiving at my dad's home, those set of cousins who are pure white, somehow, little bit of this Asianness would always create some amount of uncomfortable feeling in me. I always felt I was not accepted. This is what this boy said. Inside, physically, I don't think I will ever be able to satisfy any culture, neither Chinese nor American. So now what is left is I need to mentally accept myself. And you imagine this is a 19-year-old grown up boy, very sound, intellectual, and yet uncomfortable in the skin garb that has been presented to him. And there's nothing mentally wrong with him, but yet uncomfortable. So people do have a need to know themselves. Spirituality is the superlative degree of knowing one's own self. That's it. That is the jnananam jnan. It is the knowledge of knowledges, There is nothing greater than that. But before we come to that, we have to resolve our identity. And our physical identity has stories. This Mahabharata is a giant story of a family torn apart in a war. And this war, juxtaposed war with the ability to think, is presented by Bhagavan Krishna. He takes this opportunity of the platform of war to fix the identity, spiritual identity. Because war is going to devastate the physical identity. Nothing remains at the end of war. So Bhagavan is interested in spiritual identity. And Arjuna in this chapter is talking about the physical identity. Now, all of us who have gathered over here on this platform to study Gita, we have to resolve our physical identity before we enter the chambers of Vedanta. We have to be comfortable with ourselves. Otherwise, how can we meditate? On what can we meditate? We have to accept ourselves for who we are. So, the last point presented over here is, oh Lord, who will offer the Pinda ceremony? Who will offer the Pinda ceremony? when um, the child doesn't know the tradition. And do you know, I go through this a lot. In so many homes, Shraddha karma is completely gone. They will even come and ask me, Swamiji, is it necessary to do Shraddha? Now, tears come in my eyes. This woman who kept you in her belly for 9 months, who gave birth to you, who raised you, who gave you all that you are. And when she dies, you cannot even take time to remember her once a year and do something for her, her name, and her sacrifice in producing you. I'm not talking about the Shraddha karma of the next door neighbor, John Doe. Shraddha karma of your own mother, your own father. The attitude of gratitude in Shraddha. Swamiji, what is the most minimum needed to do for Shraddha? Can I just give some money and finish it? Now, what can I say? I see this all too often. Educated people. What good is all this education? Parents die. They create second, they pull out a second and a third mortgage to educate children. For what? See, this is where uh, kula, lineage, virtues, values, traditions, all this have to come to proper understanding. They've never seen the father do any Shraddha karma. You think that child is going to do any Shraddha karma? The father never does Sandhya Vandanam. And then you make the child, is the child going to do Sandhya karma? So see, these traditions are very rich traditions. They make us humans. And when these traditions are followed, in that home, there is no mental disease. But when we lose these traditions, people become mentally sick. Greed takes over, arrogance, pride, so many things. That's why Arjunji's standpoint is worth taking a look at for our sake, for us to grow, for us to understand. And if we can imbibe even a wee bit of it, and if the next generation sees, it is important that they see it. Because the only thread between us and our departed ancestors is our faith. That's all. The physical link is gone. They are no more. But the faith with which I remember them. And I offer a rice ball with some black sesame seeds and water as a mere thank you and a heartfelt gratitude. That needs to be seen. We are all bankrupt of faith. We can put a man on moon, a rover on Mars, but our kingdom of heart is parched and dry. Our traditions make us alive human beings. That is the glory of the words that Arjuna is uttering. He is a cultured man after all. Ample of chances were there for him to destroy Kauravas, and he has not done it. He sees the goodness of the human spirit. He would choose to suffer, but not make another person suffer. This is a man of faith. And only such a person can think so beautifully. So, um, I end my pravachan on this shloka over here, shloka 42, and then 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. So next class, we will probably end chapter 1 and we will enter chapter number 2. I know I am spending a lot of time on these shlokas, which can be just considered to be minuscule. But in the interest of learning about, you know, Kula and culture, nowhere else will we hear about these things. So important, if it is presented in Gita, there is a reason why this thought is there. Uh, we need to have a truce with our physical identity. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ हरि ओम
Yom Swamiji, thank you.